Hey, Herrst, Alter, was ist das?
Do you speak English?
What is this? What is all this for?
Oh, this is just for Schnitz and Giggles.
Schnitz and Giggles!
Welcome to Schnitz and Giggles, the podcast that stumbles upon the humor of cross-cultural confusion and life in Vienna, Austria, through the experiences of an Auslander and his Wiener.
Brought to you by the edelwisecrackers.
Disclaimer. This podcast is for the purpose of entertainment only and is not a replacement for therapy.
Guten Hallo, and welcome to the next episode of the Edelwisecrackers podcast.
Guten Hallo to you.
I'm Michael.
I'm Lucas.
And today, I think we're going to talk about grocery shopping. The thing that everybody wants to know about.
Everyone needs to know and wants to know about. More than anything.
That concept sounded a lot better when we were brainstorming. And then when I said we're going to talk about grocery shopping, it sounds less exciting.
Less exciting. Oh. Before we start, I just see we have a caller here. Let's see who it is. Hello?
Hey, this is Spruce Wayne.
Is this Bruce Wayne or Spruce Wayne?
No, Bruce is my cousin. This is Spruce Wayne from the Netherlands.
Ah, cool. Glad you're calling.
Yeah, I really enjoy your podcast, guys.
Glad you like it.
Yeah, I thought the joke about me was really funny.
Cool, yeah. I mean, thanks for just being who you are.
Yeah, but, I mean, it was funny and all, but, you know, there's something that was a little bit inaccurate about it.
Oh, you refer to the whole Spar issue?
Yeah.
And the spruce?
Yeah,
Because it's not really a spruce, right?
right. It's not a spruce.
What tree is it then?
It's like a birch or something.
You're wrong.
Oh, I knew it was funny for some reason, but I wasn't quite sure. That's why I called. I thought you would know as the expert.
Yeah, it's a fir tree.
Ah, for sure.
For sure. It's one of those Christmas trees, right? Spruce, a fir.
Yeah, kind of like the tree that's on the logo.
Exactly. You know what's funny about the whole Spar and the tree? Because you should probably know if you're really a Dutch person.
Well, I don't know. I was really just focused on my name being included on a joke.
Okay, let me tell you.
Okay.
The word de Spa in Dutch really means the fir tree. It doesn't have to do anything with saving, but the word sparen in German does mean save, to save money.
So did my Dutch brothers fall into a pun?
They created a pun for German speakers without even knowing it. So the Spar brand was founded in Amsterdam, which is your capital city, by the way.
Yeah, it's pretty close by to where I live. I'm not going to tell you, though.
Oh, yeah, you have a secret lair.
What are you talking about?
Oh, nothing. There's this guy in the States that has a similar name, and he's for some...
I told you, he's my cousin, Bruce.
Oh, yeah. So you know him.
Yeah, he borrowed my voice for his secret. I gotta go rescue a kid off a windmill.
Okay, great. Do that.
Well, that was an interesting phone call.
It's good to know we have fans in the Netherlands as well.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't even get a word in edgewise in that conversation.
Yeah, he was pretty intense.
You know, you did all the research on the grocery store thing, so I didn't have much to contribute there.
It's fantastic how much you can say about groceries and supermarkets here in Austria, Vienna. I mean, the whole Spar idea that it's the fir tree is this great pun that they even play on in their meat section. Because, as I said, Spar is fir, and in German it's die Tanne.
Yeah.
So Tanne is the word for the tree, but there's a brand, the butcher of Spar.
Yeah.
The whole sub-company is called Tann, Tann.
Is that a German brand or an Austrian brand?
It's the own Spar sub-brand.
Oh, so they're really leaning into the whole tree motif.
Yes.
Huh.
And by the way, we asked this question the other day. I asked the question, you asked the question. How you call a place where a butcher works?
Right, a butchery.
A butchery.
Yeah.
And, you know, I have a good friend called Mr. Algebro.
I saw that Mr. Algebro did comment on our Instagram page.
So shout out to Mr. Algebro, who was the first to reveal those things to us that we don't know.
And look, listeners, we're not too proud to admit when we're wrong or when we maybe don't know the right word. So feel free to correct us on our Instagram page.
Right, because my doctor title is only in Schnitzlery.
That's right. We can only be experts in so many things.
In such a narrow thing. But there's so much more we can uncover and discover concerning supermarkets and buying groceries.
Yeah, there really is a lot to talk about. But as we are hoping to provide some helpful information to foreigners living in Austria or maybe internationals who are looking to move to Austria, maybe we can either scare you away or give you some useful tips.
I mean, there must be a reason for us to pick that topic. I mean, there must be something special about it, right?
Well, there's certainly something special. I mean, you just were walking back from the grocery store today on the way to record.
Yes, I just got my lunch there.
Yeah, and I guess I don't think I've often said while living in the States that I just grab my lunch from the grocery store.
But why not? What's wrong with you?
Well, because we have so many other options.
Oh.
We can just drive through a fast food place and just grab something. I think the only times I would get food to eat at the grocery store was like fried chicken.
You have fried chicken at the
grocery store? Fried chicken is some of the best fried chicken. I can't prove it.
We can argue about that. But
grocery stores do fried chicken very well.
Fried chicken is the best kind of chicken. Let's agree on.
Yeah, I could sit with that. That'll be a different podcast episode, I suppose.
Unless it's made into a schnitzel, but that's not a different.
But it's also fried, so it's
just a different form of chicken.
But I think we're getting distracted
when it's pork. We're getting ahead of ourselves.
We're getting way ahead of ourselves. Yeah. So what did you have?
I just had a.
What'd you have?
I had a mozzarella sandwich.
What, one of the pre-made ones, or
the pre-made ones? Because it's just bagged. It just sits there.
Yeah.
You can pick it up and just. I got myself a drink. Went straight on to the cashier and I paid.
Good.
I did
Good
pay.
step. That is something that's similar to grocery stores in the States.
You also
they
pay
expect you to pay. Yeah. I do remember one of the first lessons that was given to us as new staff was how to order a Zemo at the grocery store.
So you just had arrived in Vienna and they took you?
Yeah, it was like day 2 or 3. We were doing stuff in the school, and I think it was Trisha Klein. Shout out Klein family. Like, they sat us down. I remember her, like, either she was at the whiteboard, like, writing things down. Maybe I'm remembering wrong. But I do remember that we were writing down our order.
Okay. Did you have a slideshow about
I'm sure Matt put together a great slideshow. But I do remember them, like, walking us through the process of what to say.
As in theory, or literally walking you there and...
Both.
Wow.
Yeah, they walked us through the steps before we actually walked over all together as a group.
Yeah. So how did you feel? Like, was your heart beating when you were first ordered?
For sure. Sandwich? For sure. Yeah, but that was a very, very stress-inducing thing initially, right? Because they're just kind of waiting for you to order. And there was a whole group of us, so everybody was like practicing what they were going to say, trying to choose the meat.
And also, it can be stressful for locals and non-locals. This ordering process, especially like at lunch time when there's lots of customers coming in at the same time.
Yeah.
And there's only 1 or 2 people at the counter, and you have to serve 10 people, and they have all different orders. And if you don't get your order right away, then you're like, okay, get back in line. Like,
that
can happen as well.
It's like ordering beverages at a restaurant. When that waiter comes up, you better be ready.
The friendliness in Austria.
Yeah. I feel like it's kind of a good introduction to doing anything in Austria. It's like a good first step, like a good hurdle to cross as an expat. Like, if you can go back there to the grocery store and order yourself some lunch, and you can do it without having to switch to English.
Yeah. And you can practice basically every day.
Yeah, and you get a nice reward.
Yeah, nice reward. Full stomach.
A delicious little sandwich. Yeah, I mean, that's certainly something different from American grocery stores. I think also, maybe not that it exists being the difference, but maybe the amount that it's used, like the frequency with which you will go to the grocery store to buy a sandwich for lunch quick is probably higher here than it would be in the States. At least it was for me, or it is for me.
That sounds pretty interesting, because you'll think the concept of stores, supermarkets, we get bread and milk and all those basic supplies, wouldn't they be the same in the States and in Austria, or like at least Europe and North America?
Yeah, I guess the concept obviously is the same.
You go in, you grab something, whatever you need, and then you pay.
Yeah.
And then you leave.
Yeah, but I think the biggest difference that probably most expats could agree with, most American expats would agree with, is that time between paying and leaving.
That's the crucial.
I think that's the crucial time of difference.
It's where most things can go wrong.
Yeah, I think it's probably the highest stress point of the grocery
the highest stress point of living in Austria. Period.
Yeah, period. Maybe, I don't know. There's some pretty high stress points.
Okay, we'll talk about it.
But at least for grocery shopping. And what I'm referring to, what Lucas is referring to probably as well, is bagging your items. Because what would the expectation for a local be when you're grocery shopping?
If I buy more than just a sandwich and a drink, like buy like some groceries for home. I mean, you have your little cart, your... What do you call it? Trolley? Cart?
Yeah, we call it a cart, yeah.
Yeah, who calls it a trolley?
The Brits, I think.
Brits, okay.
Yeah.
So we call it Einkaufswagen.
Of course.
So that's you go.
Yeah. You have to say it like that every time.
Yeah, every time. Who is Where's my Einkaufswagen?
So you have it filled up with groceries.
So I fill it up, yeah.
Checkout.
And then, so the checkout, there's this little, how do you call that? The black thing that moves. We call it Förderband.
Yeah.
What do you call it?
I don't put it on the...
Let's look it up.
Yeah, maybe look it up. This is just good. This is good podcasting right here.
Good thing.
What is it called?
It's like an escalator for for things, but
like a moving walkway
it doesn't
for items.
It's like the thing in the airport, right?
Yeah. What's it called?
There's a conveyor belt.
Conveyor belt.
Yeah, conveyor belt,
yeah. That's. I mean, I guess that's what.
Or
it's called.
feeder bands.
No, never heard that.
Okay.
Put it on the
British too. Conveyor.
Conveyor. Yeah, but like, what would we say? Well, dear listener, if you have any ideas about what you would say when you're putting your items on the checkout stand belt, I guess I don't know. Anyways,
on the.
I think you all know what we're talking about.
The flat food escalator.
The food moving system. Yeah, they scan.
It's my turn. They greet you with quick and mostly friendly Grüß Gott.
Yeah.
Would be nice if you greet them back. And then they check out, and they're like, beep, beep, beep. And then you quickly put the things either back into your Einkaufswagen, your cart, or right away in your bag.
That you've either brought along with you.
Exactly.
Or purchased.
Yeah, you actually have to also put that on the belt if you want like an extra paper bag.
Right.
Because you can bring your own. And you pay a couple of cents for that. But
you got to prepare.
Yeah, you got to prepare.
They don't have those afterwards.
Yeah. That's the thing.
They're in the line. You have to have an idea of what you need.
When you're done with shopping, you realize you have like 20 items just rolling around at the cashier.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I don't have a bag. Then, worst case scenario is you have to go back and squeeze in behind the other customers.
That's right. You got to reach through their legs.
Excuse me, please. And then you take a bag or two. And usually, like they're below the whole.
Yeah, they're not easy to get to.
Yeah, you really have to get on your knees, basically, get them out. Or sometimes you will ask another customer, "Can you get me one?"
Sure.
But the customer might say, like, "No, I'm sorry, I'm busy. I'm waiting.
There's
to
no
pay
way.
here.
No way. I can't
do that." So, and then you pack all your stuff and.
Which this is the most stressful part of grocery shopping.
Yes, because it's easy to say you get everything done and you pay and everything, but the next customer is just waiting in line.
Yeah.
The cashier is not waiting for you.
Not at all. Never. Never waiting.
So, and there are no more dividers. If your potatoes and apples and oranges and milk cartons and everything are just still in the area, and the next customer comes in, like, and suddenly their potatoes and their bread is like on top of your stuff.
Although, the Billa right over here has this little swinging divider thing.
Some do have that, but not most of them don't.
But I found that most of the time, there's just a whole bunch of extra stuff sitting.
They don't even use it.
Yeah, like they use it as a storage space
for like a personal space
for other things. And so then there's packs of gum that you could buy, which is after the time you've already bought everything. But getting all your stuff off of the conveyor belt. Yeah, I guess conveyor belt. There it is. Flowed naturally. Getting it off of that rack and into your Einkaufswagen or into a bag or whatever to get it over to the packing shelf. Because that's kind of the unique thing is that or at least the different thing from grocery stores in America is that there's packing shelves where then everybody goes over to take the stuff out of the wagon and put it into the bag. Because I guess the biggest difference in the grocery store, there is an employee of the grocery store who's taking the things from the person who's scanning the items, then that person puts them directly into the bags. Much less stressful.
It sounds like way less stressful because
you're getting served. Yeah, it's
because we haven't really gotten into this deep enough because it's one thing that your own groceries are on top or like the other customers are on top, like and mixing with your own. But then people get really annoyed with you.
Right, if you're not fast enough.
The best thing that can happen to you is a stare, some mild annoyed stare from either like the employee or the customer.
Yeah,
or
probably
both of them.
Yeah, probably both.
Like, what's going on?
And probably the people
and behind
in line as well.
The customer next and the next, like because you're holding
their day is being delayed.
And in some other cases, they might even comment and say like, "Move along."
Yeah.
Or like, "What you doing here?"
Yeah, dummy.
And I have to say, that happens to locals too. Of course, like happened to me.
Oh, of course, yeah.
But after one or two times, you learn your lesson.
Yeah, we learned that lesson really quick.
Yeah, you can basically tell who's not from around just by shopping.
Yeah, just go to the grocery store and
look at
find the foreigners.
Like, where are you from? Yeah, I'm from Australia.
I think to those early days of we lived pretty close to the Mercure, is now Super Billa Plus, which is a soup. The amount of hustle that you had to have, you had to be putting those things back in the cart as quickly as the lady's scanning them. Which I have found myself, like if I go back to the States at any point I go to the grocery store, you get so...
You expect, like, you will get all...
Well, there's that little bit of like stress immediately. And like as stuff starts coming out, I start to grab it. Like I started grabbing stuff to just kind of put them in my bag. And
look at you.
They were like, well, sir, we can put that in the bag for you. I'm like, oh, sorry. I'm not from around here. I don't know.
You put on your German accent.
Yeah, so that takes some getting. It's like a simple thing in life that takes a little bit of getting used to.
But why is that?
Yeah, why is it such self-service over here? You'd think in the socialist paradise that is Austria that'd be another job.
I mean, you're getting at something here because that's exactly the point. What kind of people would usually be employed to do the packing, like in the States?
Usually like teenagers. My son was a bagger for a while. Yeah, usually
implying it's not a high-paid job.
It wasn't a very high-paid job at all. So
the main cashier probably gets more than the bagger.
Sure, yeah, the bagger wants to become a cashier.
Yeah, it's like you work yourself up and maybe one day. And that's the whole point in socialist paradise, that it comes with a price, of course.
Sure.
There's lots and lots of extra fees and extra taxes to be paid. Right. So every single worker is twice as much probably, like compared maybe to the States. So you can make a choice.
Yeah, you start cutting costs wherever you can in order to...
And so like in the States, you can hire two people for the same kind of job, perhaps, or like at least one and a half.
It's a part-time job.
Like 1.5 salaries. Yeah. But like this 1.5 salary, like half of that salary would go into taxes in Austria. So that's why there's only one person there and no one's there to help you bag your things.
So, there's a lot of different grocery store companies, right? I mean, there's a variety of grocery stores. And with Vienna specifically being a more urban environment, grocery stores seem to be smaller and more like neighborhood.
Exactly.
Neighborhood centric.
In urban Vienna, you're basically in walking distance. You can't really walk more than, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks without just running into a grocery store.
Yeah, it's true.
As a matter of fact, the density in Austria, or at least in Vienna, I think it's all of Austria, is super high, like compared like worldwide. The density of supermarket per like square kilometer, square mile is pretty much world champions.
Well, when we first moved back this most recent time, I mean, we were within kind of like an equidistant walk to a location from almost every grocery store company or brand in the country. Like they all had locations all kind of placed together, and we could go to whatever one we wanted to. And it wasn't like, I'm going to go to the closest one, because they were all the same distance.
So that's not the deciding factor.
Yeah. I mean, I think the deciding factor ends up being like, where can you get most of what you have on your list at one place? And that makes sense, right? But I think I feel like there's specific stores that people like to go to for specific items.
And some also are divided up by sizes. So that's when we come to the Spar brand, for example.
Right.
So Spar is just the one chain of supermarkets, but there's Spar, Eurospar, and Interspar.
Yeah.
So the Spar, if you see like just a Spar logo somewhere, like it's just a regular grocery store. You can buy day-to-day supplies,
kind of basics,
all the basics. When you go to Eurospar, that's like one size up. Yeah, so that's bigger.
A few more things.
You get a few more things there. You might even get a few like simple kitchen items there.
Yeah.
Stuff like...
Yeah, they'll have seasonal stuff.
Seasonal stuff.
Office supplies.
You get some office supplies, greeting cards.
Yeah.
Or, for example, if you're looking into buying, dog food, cat food, they have a bigger variety than, when you get dog food at the smaller ones too. But if you're looking for a specific one, it's more likely to get them there. And then there's the Interspar, which is the largest.
Which that's about as close of a comparison to a grocery store in the States.
Yes.
Like your standard grocery store in the States is an Interspar.
The only difference is you don't get guns here, but you get them in the States. Everything else is kind of the same.
Yeah. Not many parts of the country can you get a gun in a grocery store, but I suppose there are some places.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to Texas.
Yeah.
And I was, it's funny, like you walk
guns
by.
at a toy store there.
Yeah. Here's the bread section. Here's the milk section. Here's the gun section.
The self-defense section. So do you have a favorite chain of grocery stores that you are specifically loyal to?
Well, I've got to say, most of the time I would probably go to the Billa.
It's closest to you.
It's close to, although I have a Spar, not like, probably like, it's just, probably makes, it's like 10 steps farther away than
That's, yeah, well,
it's like kind of that.
It's out at that point.
Yeah. That's too far.
Yeah, too far.
However, like it's really, it kind of grows on you, I would say. I mean, that's kind of course, that's what marketing is. Like, I mean, good brands, they just want to make you loyal, like a loyal customer. But for the longest time where I used to live before, it's like Spar and Billa are probably the biggest players in their own category. And then you have others like Hofer and Lidl, which are more like cheaper and kind of different style of shopping experience, let's call it this way. But Spar and Billa are kind of the big rivals here. So the place I lived before, the next Spar, actually, like Spar was 10, 15-minute walk, but I had 2 Billas, like in a 1 or 2 minute walk distance. Yeah, guess who won? Yeah. Also, and then there's also the Billa Plus.
Right.
Although I actually liked when you call it Super Billa.
Super Billa.
Yeah, that's a way better name. You should have rebranded that.
Well, they didn't ask.
Up until a couple of years ago, the brand was called Merkur.
Yeah.
And then they just rebranded under the Billa roof. Everything is now Billa.
You know, I
could have called it Billa too. Like
Billa.
Because it's Billa Plus.
Billa Plus what?
It's Billa Square, like Billa.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, we have the closest grocery store to us is a Billa. Mm-hmm. And I very rarely go to it, even though it's closer. Because I think it doesn't seem cheaper. Okay. Kind of belies its name. And it just doesn't seem to have like the things that, they don't have the good meat selection or whatever. So I find myself going farther to the Spar because I can kind of get the things that I want. Yeah, it is interesting talking to people about like occasionally like Hofer and Lidl and even the Penny Markt, three of the smaller ones. They'll occasionally have like random American items. Like they were the first stores that were like carrying Pop-Tarts. Pretty uniquely American breakfast snack.
Couldn't get them here.
Yeah, you couldn't get them really anywhere in Austria, but then a few years back, they just started showing up in Hofer on like a special section or whatever. And then the word goes around the network, hey, they've got Pop-Tarts at Hofer. Everybody goes to Hofer and they sell out.
We're going to have to order some more.
And then they order more, and then I guess because now I think you can find them in more stores. But it's funny how we have certain stores for certain items. I know one of our friends, our upstairs neighbors, like she goes to, on Saturdays when she does all her shopping, like she goes to 4 different grocery stores. So she'll go to the one, come back, unload everything, take her cart back out, go to the next one, because, you kind of find what places have the good prices on certain things.
Did she go because of the price or because of the actual items?
I think it might be a combination. Like there's some things that you can really only get at a certain place at a decent price, maybe.
That's true, because the Hofer and the Lidl one and the Penny, they kind of are the cheaper section compared to Billa and Spar. But they also have lots of their own brands. Like they kind of have like no label, basically. That's kind of, and that the labeling makes it a little expensive. Right. Because you might get a Twix and Snickers at Billa and Spar, but then at Hofer you just get like some caramel chocolate bar.
Snicks and
some peanut chocolate bar. Yeah, it's called. I don't know.
Well, I think there's obviously with smaller stores they have less. I mean, by definition, they're going to have less variety because they have less space. And so I think when it comes to like these types, when you're looking for options, bigger stores are good. I've also found the Turkish markets are usually a pretty great source because they have cheaper meat and
they specialize on
they have different specialties and different.
Yeah, and you can get stuff that you wouldn't get otherwhere.
Right.
Otherwhere.
Yeah, otherwhere.
Otherwhere.
Hey, English learner, it's fine. If we laughed at every time I tried to use German, would be
my mind went elsewhere. That's why
it went otherwhere.
It went otherwhere. It's other out.
But the rise of like international food stores and like very specific places where you can get things that it just makes for a very interesting experience. One that I don't think I'd really had as much in the States, right? There's a lower store per person ratio, I would imagine, in the States, with it being more spread out and dependent on cars or whatever. I mean, obviously I had stores that I knew would be cheaper for certain things, but it's not to the same level that it is, I feel, here. And you certainly don't have the level of conversation amongst people of like what they found at a certain store and like,
because you basically only go to the same store all the time. Is that?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's going to be the closest one. Yeah. You kind of get into your routine of where you go, but then somebody says, "Oh, did you know that they have like tortillas?" I think is an interesting case study if you will, in this whole thing. Like when we first moved here, there was one brand of tortilla, 2 sizes, and you could find them at maybe, I think at that point, like Mercure was one of the only ones that was Billa Plus. But now, like, Interspar has like 3 different brands of tortillas. It's wild. It's wild. And when they like release a new, or they have a new brand on the shelves, like that's the talk of the town.
Well, especially of course, if you're not from around, and you, for example, I think you value tortillas much more than I do.
Yeah.
But like if I was living in the States, for example, and then they bring in some European brand or something else,
you might not notice it.
You probably wouldn't notice, but I was like, hey, finally I can buy this here. And
right.
So, but I think I've also observed that the selection of things offered in the stores have become more international, generally speaking. Because even the smaller stores, you can find a lot of Turkish stuff now, because there's a lot of people with Turkish backgrounds in Vienna. And there's obviously a market for it, and they noticed that.
Well, let's to get back to the tortillas.
Sorry, you weren't done yet. I'm sorry.
No, it made me think of like the value side of it, because like when we moved back to America, I went shopping a couple days after we had just come back, and obviously tortillas being a high value item, like I walked down the aisle that has the tortillas in the States. And I got overwhelmed by the amount of options, because like the tortilla aisle is like the tea aisle here, like the section where you go find tea.
Okay.
In let's say an Interspar, a little bit bigger, where they have more options of tea, and it's just stacks and stacks of tea. That's what it was like with tortillas, and I had gotten so used to just being like, okay, well, I need big tortillas. I grabbed the one package of big tortillas, and then I go back home, and it's just, oh no, what do I, and I remember, I'm going to get vulnerable for a moment. I remember crying in the tortilla aisle because I was so like, I don't know if they were tears of joy, possibly partially tears of joy, but just like the amount of option was just overwhelming. It was crazy.
There's a Tex-Mex tears.
Not Tex-Mex tears. How dare you?
Oh,
not Tex-Mex. There's a big difference.
Sorry.
That's for a different podcast. It's kind of an interesting learning thing if you go to a new country to just walk around the grocery store.
That's true, because some years ago when I lived in a different place, there's also this one supermarket I would always go to, and at some point they were like really reshelving everything. Like they would just like the whole sortiment. You say sortiment, or you say?
I don't say sortiment.
The sortiment.
Assortment.
Assortment, yeah.
All this sounds cooler when you say sortiment.
All the grand sortiment. They replaced lots of things. Basically, the management said, "Okay, we have such and such, so many shelves, so much space. Okay, and that's like all intention like this. There's
right.
no
all the items with dust on them.
Yeah, like they have to
get rid of those.
So if they collect too much dust, they go, and then you get replaced with stuff that people actually buy.
Yeah.
So I don't like they changed that from one day to the next. But when it got back there, and the new sortiment had been stacked in place. Basically, what they had expanded was the whole sweet section, like chocolate.
Oh dear.
And the whole alcohol section.
Makes sense.
So that's like those two are the biggest sections of the whole store.
Like something.
You had like a small spot for the bread and a small spot for the flour and sugar. But then like it was a really long aisle with just sweets and alcohol.
It's funny.
So, and I guess that sells well.
Yeah, you go with what's going out the door.
I mean, the kind of the proportions when you go into a store here.
Yeah.
When you talk about the wine section and the beer section and even the harder liquor, I don't know, is it like a sixth, a fifth of the whole place usually?
We'd have to bring Mr. Sattler on as a guest to break down we'll give him an assignment to figure out the percentage.
I thought you were going to say, we have to bring an alcoholic.
It certainly is a very robust section of any. There aren't many food categories that get their own aisle.
Right, because it's really literally a whole aisle.
I was in a smaller Billa yesterday, and there's maybe 6 or 7 aisles to the entire grocery store, but there's 1.5 aisles that's
So
that's just alcohol.
That's just like my spontaneous thing was 1/6, 1/5.
About right.
Yeah,
Sure.
Maybe something like 10 to 20% of the store.
Well, you go in the bigger Innerspar, like they've got the whole back corner, it seems, is an alcohol section, wine and everything else. So, I mean, part of that is in the States, we have liquor stores that they're small markets as well, but they sell predominantly alcohol. So I guess that's
the main purpose. Yeah, we don't have as many of those here.
No. I guess those types of like smaller convenience stores, we call them also in the States.
Oh, how convenient.
Yeah, they are very convenient because they're usually like with a gas station and so like there seems to be a rise of those types of stores even here. Like many of the gas stations have started to include a place where you could also get, your kind of your basic food items.
Right, they even have like a small deli section as well sometimes.
Right.
And it used to be like you get some chewing gum, like a newspaper, and some chocolate. That's about it.
Road trip stuff,
snacks. That's all.
But I think that some of that has to do with something that we haven't talked about yet, is the operating hours of grocery stores.
Because that's the one thing that people moving here notice pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Within 1 week.
Yeah, a good 7 days. We'll put you through the cycle.
Whenever you arrive here, Monday or Thursday, because you might not look very happy when you see your own self reflecting in the glass door of your favorite supermarket when it doesn't open.
Yeah, because Sundays, and I can't speak for every family in the States, but like that's a big shopping day for grocery shopping. You go to church in the morning, go out to lunch or something, and then maybe in the early afternoon we go do our grocery shopping.
Just stack up for the week.
It was just what we would do, because there were usually fewer things planned or whatever on that day, and Saturday is planned with a lot of other things. And so that whole process of the stores not being open on Sundays leads to a different pace of life. That throws people off.
Especially the first couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, first couple of months and years, I think you always have to kind of think through, to make sure that you get out on a Saturday. But even then on Saturday,
they close early. And early is really early compared to like the regular closing times as well, compared to the States, right?
Yeah, I mean, 6 p.m. close time, that's on Saturday. But even regular hours for grocery stores closing at 8 o'clock, maybe.
Sometimes 7:30.
Yeah, 7:30 or whatever. Usually not later than that. I don't think there's any grocery stores that
past 8.
And so even that process of getting everything done before 8 o'clock is downright un-American, right? We deserve the right to go out at 1 o'clock and buy groceries if we want to.
Where did my freedom go?
I mean, it takes a little bit of thinking ahead. Maybe speaks even to our last conversation about like friendships, and it's a little bit harder to do kind of an impromptu invitation for people on like a Sunday, like after church.
Yeah, you got
unless you already have something planned and prepared, because you can't just go out to the grocery store quick, get what you need for the day, unless you want to brave one of the train station grocery stores.
That's really only for the brave.
But specifically,
that's for the brave only.
The Billa is a very interesting experience.
Yes. So that's one of the few supermarkets opening the doors on a Sunday.
Yeah, and it's wild in there. I've found myself during baseball season, when we have games on Sundays, that's usually a kind of part of the process is that I go into the Billa. I'm either extremely courageous or just a dummy because I don't plan ahead well enough. But I'll go in there and get a couple Semmels to throw in my bag for the long day out at the baseball field or something, and it's. Sometimes those lines will be all the way to the back of the store.
Yes.
I mean, there's it's 25 people in line.
Yeah, it's not the smallest stores.
No.
It's quite
large. It's a little bit bigger, but it's an experience that is kind of uniquely maybe some of the other...
I mean, sometimes people would be standing in line outside the store to get in, right?
Right.
That's
right. If it gets extremely crowded, then they just shut off.
They don't let you in, and then even once you're in, I think you have to stand in line behind 25 other customers. And
that's with me going in at like 8:30 in the morning. Like before people have gotten moving for the day, there's not as many people out doing stuff. If you go in the mid-afternoon, you really need something if you're willing to go into the store at that time. Yeah, I mean, if you're thinking about moving to Austria, just be ready for kind of a change of pace in how you do grocery shopping.
Let's end on a nice note.
Okay, good.
Because even people who've moved here, and first of course they're confused and they're annoyed and they're angry, they're depressed because stores do not open the way they're used to.
Yeah.
But at some point, some people have said they learn to appreciate that because it does get much quieter on a Sunday or like in the evenings. And all the rushing and all the stress of a regular day seems to fade away a little bit more.
Yeah, it gets compressed into those hours right before the store.
Yes,
so you're going into the grocery store at 7:30 is a bad idea.
And you get shamed because you don't have to pack your own bag.
The last couple of months, I've found myself in the grocery store at like 4:30 or 5 on a Saturday afternoon.
You should know better than that by now.
I do know. And every time I walk in there, I go, oh, why didn't I come earlier? Or why didn't I do something the day before? Because it's just, there's a lot of people in there getting their last minute things. And
you really have to be very strategic because like when I go shopping on a Saturday, last time I went, ideally for me is Saturday morning, we have some breakfast and some lunch. We're prepped for that. And then after lunch, maybe I'll go, but not too late because by the time it's 3 or 4 o'clock, all the fresh items are gone, like the vegetables.
That's right.
So you have to get earlier than that. So once I was like, okay, I'm going to go around 11 o'clock. But then I didn't realize that supermarket usually gets all the deliveries from the truck at that time. And the employees, they have to put them in the shelves.
They're putting everything out, right?
So everything like was in boxes all around. And then a ton of people came in at lunchtime.
Yeah.
Some of them grabbing lunch or doing their weekend shopping.
Yeah, getting in there early.
And so like I couldn't even get around the corner. Sometimes I had to go back and let the other customer pass. 11 o'clock is not a good time. 4 o'clock is not a good time. 8 o'clock is comes too early.
I think generally speaking, avoiding the grocery store on a Saturday is probably a good lesson.
Yes, which some people do, and they all go Friday afternoon, which can get very crowded
Which
as
that
well.
makes Friday afternoon very... So Thursday morning, I found, is the best time to go grocery shopping. Yeah, and we didn't even talk about the very many holidays that land on weekends. Those times where you have a holiday on a Monday and the grocery store. I mean, around Christmas time, it's especially because you know that Christmas Eve is going to close early. Christmas Day is going to be closed. Day after Christmas, going to be closed.
Yeah, so if the 25th of December and the 26th, they're both public holidays in Austria.
Yeah.
So if they're on a Monday, Tuesday.
Yeah.
The stores
Friday, Saturday. Yeah. Anytime that like
the stores close Saturday, 6 o'clock, 6 p.m.
Yeah.
Then Sunday's closed, Monday's closed, Tuesday's closed. The next chance you have is Wednesday morning to go shopping.
Yeah, that's tough.
So those are tough.
Those are tough days. It's a hard life. You got to really prepare. Well, it's especially tough on, those are traditionally going to be days where you're maybe having guests over, you have family over.
Exactly, yeah.
You got to be...
Yeah, if you have guests on the 26th of December, you better do your shopping.
Leftovers.
On the 19th.
Yep, leftovers. Yeah, but it works out. But I do think that, again, to end on a positive note, there is a nice change of pace that comes into that where you know that, okay, well, very rarely is needing to get something truly an emergency. And so it allows you to just kind of take a breath and say, all right, I'll just get that on the next day, be fine, enjoy my time, not having to go, not being able to go to the grocery store. Yeah, I mean, there's enough solutions that it's not the worst thing to do. All right. Well, I think we've talked about grocery stores probably far longer than anybody wanted us to.
At any point in my life, I've never talked this much.
But if we are looking at helping expats and just talking about our experience, this is a thing that people spend a lot of time or a lot of thought when it comes to grocery store shopping. And it becomes a pretty vital part of your life. So there's enough differences that can cause a lot of stress.
It's a necessity. Yeah. It's good to know what to look for and watch out for.
Well, good. As always, when you're leaving that grocery store, make sure that you don't say Guten Bye-Bye.
Guten Bye-Bye.
Thanks for listening to this Schnitzel Giggles episode.
Remember to follow and subscribe if you want more content like this from the Edelwisecrackers.
Don't be shy about commenting or leaving feedback. Until next time.
So long.
Farewell.
Good Wiedersehen.
Bye-bye.